The glittering chandeliers threw dazzling sparks of light across the massive ballroom, where 400 guests stood frozen, their jaws dropped in shock. My cheek throbbed like it was on fire from the sharp sting of her slap, and sticky red wine trickled down my pale gold dress, staining the polished marble floor. The crack of that slap echoed in my ears, louder than the stunned gasps rippling through the crowd. "How dare you wreck my perfect day?" Sophia's voice sliced through the air like a whip. My sister-in-law stood there in her shimmering, extravagant wedding gown, her face twisted with fury, clutching an empty wine glass in her perfectly polished nails. "Can't you even move without being so clumsy?" All I'd wanted was to wrap her in a warm hug, to share her joy on her wedding day. But my heel had caught the delicate edge of her gown's train. In that one fleeting second, my world turned upside down. "Sophia's got a point." My husband, Michael, spoke up, his words hitting me like a cold, hard punch, sharper than the slap itself. He stepped toward his sister, his eyes icy as they met mine. "You should have watched your step, Lily. This is her big day, and you nearly destroyed her dress." His betrayal stung worse than the burn on my cheek, cutting deep into my heart. I stood there, wine soaking into my dress, my face stinging, as 400 pairs of eyes stared at me. Some looked with pity, others with judgment, but most just stayed silent, awkward and uneasy. I felt tiny, like I was shrinking into nothing under their gazes. Then James, the groom, stepped forward, his face tight with a fury I'd never seen before. His jaw was clenched, his hazel eyes blazing as he marched to the microphone with slow, deliberate steps that made the entire room hold its breath. "Did you just?" His voice thundered through the speakers, sharp and commanding. "Slap the CEO of Starlight Media?" The silence that followed was so heavy you could hear a pin drop. Everyone froze as if time itself had paused. Whispers started softly, then grew into a storm of shocked murmurs as people realized who I was. Waiters who had been invisible against the walls moments ago suddenly stood straighter, their eyes wide with awe. They hurried toward me, bowing nervously, offering napkins and stammering, "Ma'am, please let us help." One waiter's hands trembled as he tried to dab the wine from my dress. But James wasn't done. He gripped the microphone tighter, his voice steady but fierce. "The woman you just shamed in front of everyone isn't just any guest. She's Lily Harper, the woman who saved my career 5 years ago when no one else believed in me. She built a billion-dollar empire from scratch, and she did it all while staying humble, never flaunting her success." Sophia's face drained of color, looking like she might faint. Her bouquet quivered in her hands, and her confident bride glow vanished. Michael's smug expression crumbled into panic as the truth hit him. His mouth opened, but no words came out. James's voice grew stronger. "And next week, I was set to announce that my company, James Creations, is merging with Starlight Media in the biggest deal our industry has ever seen." The word merging hung in the air like a dark cloud, heavy with consequences. Let me take you back to how I ended up here, standing in a puddle of wine, my carefully hidden life falling apart. My name is Lily Harper, but to my family I'm just Lily Thompson, the name I took when I married Michael 3 years ago. At 33, I'd built Starlight Media, a global company that shaped brands across 7 continents. It wasn't just successful, it was a titan in the business world. But early on I made a choice. I didn't want power to change who I was. I'd seen too many successful people lose themselves, surrounded by people who only wanted their money. So I lived 2 lives. At work I was Lily Harper, the unstoppable CEO who could make or break deals with a single nod. At home I was just Lily, Michael's quiet wife who worked a regular marketing job and loved cozy evenings at home. It was almost comical, the double life I led. I had enough wealth to buy private jets, but I drove a simple Nissan and shopped at everyday stores. I could have lived in a sprawling mansion, but Michael and I shared a modest suburban home. I could have worn designer gowns daily, but I chose simple, elegant clothes that didn't scream money. Michael never questioned my job, and I never told him the truth. He seemed content believing he was the main breadwinner, a sales manager with a decent but unremarkable salary. I let him think that because I loved him, and I thought love meant avoiding conflict. How wrong I was. The trouble started small, like a tiny crack in a window that grows bigger over time. Michael's sister, Sophia, was the darling of their family. Spoiled, dramatic, and convinced the world revolved around her. She called herself a social media star, But her small following and even smaller income didn't match her glamorous lifestyle. She lived like a celebrity, always in debt, always asking Michael for money. Family comes first, Michael would say whenever I gently suggested Sophia should learn to budget. She's my little sister, Lily. I have to look out for her. At first I admired his loyalty, but over time I saw the pattern. Sophia stirred up drama, and Michael rushed to her side. She made snarky comments about me, and he either agreed or stayed quiet. She made demands and he gave in every time. Sophia's engagement to James Parker was a whirlwind. They'd only been together for 8 months when he proposed, but she was over the moon, and Michael was thrilled his sister was marrying a successful architect with a rising firm. What they didn't know was that James and I had history, not romantic but professional. 5 years ago, when James was a struggling dreamer with no connections, he pitched a bold idea to Starlight Media. My team thought it was too risky, but I saw fire in his eyes, the same fire I had when I started out. I fought for his project and we turned it into a campaign that launched his career. James never forgot that. When Michael introduced me as his wife, James's eyes lit up with recognition, then confusion. Why was Lily Harper, the powerful CEO, acting like an ordinary wife? I asked him to keep my secret. I wasn't ready for my two worlds to collide. I thought I could keep them separate forever. The wedding day should have been a warning. Sophia was unusually sweet that morning, asking me to help with small tasks and even praising my gold dress. I thought maybe we were finally connecting. I was so naive. The venue, Silvercrest Manor, was like a dream, with soaring ceilings, marble pillars, and chandeliers that sparkled like stars. Sophia had spared no expense, though I knew most of it was coming from Michael's account, our joint account, which meant my money. I arrived early to help, wearing my gold dress, elegant but understated. I wanted to blend in, not steal the spotlight. James noticed me during the rehearsal and smiled warmly. "Lily, that dress looks amazing on you," he said, his voice kind and sincere. Sophia's smile tightened, but she quickly laughed it off. "Oh yes, Lily always looks so practical," she said, making practical sound like an insult. The ceremony was breathtaking. Sophia glowed in her designer gown, and James's face lit up as she walked down the aisle. For a moment, I thought this day might bring us all closer. The reception started perfectly, delicious food, a lively band, happy guests. I stayed in the background, letting Sophia shine, while Michael barely spoke to me except to give me tasks. "Lily, can you check the gift table? Lily, make sure the photographer knows where to go." Each request felt like a small cut, but I did them anyway. It was Sophia's day. The trouble really started during the speeches. Michael, as the bride's brother, gave a toast that made my stomach churn. "My sister Sophia is one of a kind," he said, beaming. "She's beautiful, talented, and always chasing her dreams. James, you're lucky to have her." He paused, his eyes finding mine across the room. "Sophia never settles for less. She's always pushing to be the best, and I admire that." The words stung like he was saying I was the opposite, someone who faded into the background, who lacked ambition. The guests clapped, but some looked at me with pity, sensing the hidden jab. After dinner, as the dancing began, I tried to shake off the hurt. I chatted with guests, smiling as they assumed I'd helped plan the wedding. "You and Sophia must be so close," an older woman said kindly. I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. Later, I stood alone by the gift table, watching Michael and Sophia dance, laughing like they were the only two people in the world. I felt like an outsider in my own family. That's when James came over, his voice low. "You're awfully quiet tonight, Lily." I shrugged. "It's Sophia's day. I'm fine staying out of the spotlight." He looked at me for a long moment. "Are you happy?" he asked. The question caught me off guard. When was the last time anyone asked me that? "Of course," I said, but the words felt hollow. Before I could say more, Sophia appeared, slightly out of breath. "James, I need you for photos," she said, linking her arm through his. Then she turned to me. "Lily, can you make sure the cake table is ready? The photographer wants to do the cutting soon." I nodded and headed off, hearing Sophia's voice behind me, not quite quiet enough. "I don't know why Lily's always so serious. She could try to have fun for once." James's reply was too soft to hear, but his tone sounded sharp, like he didn't agree. The cake cutting went perfectly, with Sophia playfully smearing frosting on James's face while the crowd cheered. Then came the moment that changed everything. As the photos wrapped up, Sophia spotted me across the room and waved me over, her smile bright. "Lily, come here, my dear sister-in-law." I was surprised but happy, thinking she wanted to include me. Maybe this was a new start. I walked carefully through the crowd, not wanting to bump anyone. Sophia's face glowed with joy, her cheeks pink from dancing and champagne. "I want to thank you for all your help today," she said loudly so nearby guests could hear. "Come give me a big hug." My heart warmed. Maybe I'd misjudged her. I stepped forward, ready to embrace her, feeling lighter than I had all day. That's when my heel caught on the delicate lace of her train. The soft rip of fabric sounded louder than it was, like a crack of thunder in my ears. Sophia's eyes widened in horror, and I knew instantly that my hope for a fresh start was gone. "My dress!" Sophia screamed, her voice piercing the room. "You ruined my dress." I stepped back, hands raised. "Sophia, I'm so sorry. It was an accident." "An accident?" she shrieked, making guests wince. "You stepped on my wedding dress on my wedding day." The damage was small, just a few loose beads on the hem, barely noticeable, but Sophia acted like I destroyed her gown. Before I could say more, her hand flew up and slapped my cheek, the sound echoing like a gunshot. The band stopped playing. Conversations died. Every eye turned to us. My cheek burned, but the shock was worse. I touched my face, stunned. "How dare you?" Sophia's voice carried to every corner of the room. "This is my day, and you're too clumsy to even hug me without ruining everything." She grabbed a glass of red wine from a table and poured it over my dress. The cold liquid soaked through, turning the gold fabric dark red. "There," she spat. "Now we're even." The room was silent, the air thick with shock. Guests stared, some horrified, some embarrassed, a few almost amused. But it was Michael's reaction that broke me. Instead of defending me, he stepped closer to Sophia, his face full of concern. "Lily, what's wrong with you?" he said loudly. "This is Sophia's wedding. You should have been more careful." He put his arm around his sister. "You know how much this means to her." His words cut deeper than the slap. My own husband was siding with her, humiliating me in front of everyone. He acted like I'd done it on purpose. "Michael," I whispered, but my voice was drowned out by the crowd's murmurs. Sophia leaned into him, playing the victim. "I just wanted to thank her," she said, her voice dripping with fake innocence. "I didn't expect her to ruin everything." Michael stroked her hair. "Don't worry, Sophia. Lily should have known better." Each word was a knife twisting in my chest. I stood there, wine dripping, my cheeks stinging, feeling like I was nothing. Then I heard the sharp click of shoes on the marble floor. James was striding toward the microphone, his face a storm of anger. The whispers quieted as everyone sensed something big was coming. He tapped the microphone, the sound sharp and commanding. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, his voice calm but edged with fury, "I need to talk about what just happened." Sophia looked at him, expecting him to smooth things over, to say accidents happen. She had no idea what was coming. "Did you just slap the CEO of Starlight Media?" James's words hit like a thunderbolt. The crowd gasped, and recognition spread like wildfire. People who knew my company's name, who'd read about me in business magazines, suddenly realized who I was. The whispers grew louder. "Starlight Media? That's Lily Harper." James gripped the microphone tighter. "The woman my wife just humiliated is Lily Harper. The Lily Harper." More gasps filled the room. Guests pulled out their phones, searching my name, their faces lighting up with shock. Sophia's bouquet shook harder, her face white as her gown. Michael's smugness vanished, replaced by horror. "Lily Harper built Starlight Media from nothing into a billion-dollar empire," James continued. "She's been on the cover of Forbes 3 times. She's one of the most powerful women in the world." He looked at me, his eyes full of respect. 5 years ago, when I was a nobody with a crazy dream, Lily believed in me. When every other company said no, she fought for my project. She turned my little firm into a success. The room was so quiet you could hear my heart pounding. "And next week," James said, his voice hard, "I was going to announce a $300 million partnership between James Creations and Starlight Media. But after what I saw tonight, after watching my wife treat Lily like this, I'm not sure that deal can happen. Sophia made a choked sound, realizing she might have cost James millions. But he wasn't done. He turned to her, his eyes cold. Sophia, you slapped one of the most influential women in the country. You poured wine on someone who could buy everything you own without blinking. You humiliated someone with more grace than you've ever shown. Sophia's knees wobbled, and she clung to Michael for support. James turned to Michael. And you, Michael, you humiliated your own wife. The woman you vowed to love and protect. The woman who's probably been paying for your life without you even knowing. Michael's face went pale as the truth hit him. My quiet life, my ability to cover expenses, it all clicked. James faced the crowd again. You've all seen something incredible tonight. A woman with immense power chose to live humbly, to put family first, to choose love over fame. And you saw that kindness repaid with cruelty. Waiters rushed to me, bowing and offering napkins, treating me like royalty. Moments ago, I was the clumsy sister-in-law. Now I was Lily Harper, CEO. But I barely noticed them. I was watching Sophia, her face ghostly pale, and Michael, his eyes full of regret. James, Sophia whispered, her voice shaking. I didn't know. I swear. Didn't know what? He asked coldly. That you shouldn't treat people like that? That your perfect day doesn't give you the right to hurt someone. Michael finally spoke, his voice hoarse. Lily, why didn't you tell me? I looked at him, really looked at him, and saw the man I loved, but also the man who just betrayed me. Would it have changed anything, Michael? Would you have respected me if you knew? Or would you have found other ways to make me feel small? He had no answer. James stepped away from the microphone and walked to me, the crowd parting for him. Lily, are you okay? He asked softly, his eyes full of worry. I touched my cheek, still tender from the slap. But as I looked at the faces around me, shocked, embarrassed, respectful, I realized something. I was more than okay. For the first time in years I felt free. The room was silent, waiting for my next move. Sophia stood frozen, trembling in her gown. Michael stared at me, his eyes pleading. But I felt calm, like a storm had passed. I brushed away the waiter's hands and stepped toward the microphone. May I asked James. He nodded and stepped back. My heels clicked on the marble, each step loud in the quiet room. I faced the crowd, strangers, colleagues, friends, all watching me. Good evening, I said, my voice clear. I guess it's time for introductions. I'm Lily Harper, CEO of Starlight Media. A few gasps broke the silence, but most were still stunned. I'm here to celebrate Sophia and James's wedding, a day meant for love and new beginnings. I looked at Sophia, who was shaking, her eyes wide with fear. I kept my work life private because I wanted to be loved for who I am, not what I've done. I thought family and love mattered more than money or power. My voice stayed steady, but my heart ached. 3 years ago, I married Michael because I loved him. I thought he'd stand by me, protect me, support me. But I've spent 3 years making myself smaller, quieter, to fit into his world. I've listened to people say I'm not ambitious, that I should try harder, be more impressive. The room was so quiet I could hear my own breathing. Tonight I was slapped, had wine poured on me, and called names in front of all of you. But what hurt most was my husband choosing to defend my attacker instead of me. Michael flinched, his face crumpling. Lily, I didn't know, he said, his voice breaking. Didn't know what? I asked, turning to him. That I deserved respect? That humiliating someone is wrong? That love means standing by your partner. He opened his mouth, but I raised my hand. You didn't need to know I was a CEO to know I'm kind, loyal, and loving. You knew I tried to make your family happy, and you chose to hurt me instead. I faced the crowd again. Power doesn't give anyone the right to be cruel, but it also doesn't mean you have to accept cruelty. For 3 years I thought love meant making myself smaller. I thought speaking up was selfish. I thought respect was too much to ask for. I looked at Sophia, who was crying now. Sophia, you've treated me like I was nothing. You criticized my clothes, my job, my life. You made Michael choose between you and me, and tonight he chose you. Her tears fell faster, ruining her makeup. But your biggest mistake wasn't slapping me or ruining my dress. It was doing it in front of James, a man who knows my worth. I turned to James, who was watching me with pride. James, thank you for defending me. But your partnership with Starlight Media will go forward as planned. I don't mix personal feelings with business. You've earned it with your talent and integrity. I looked back at Sophia and Michael. What happened tonight won't hurt James's career. He married you, Sophia, because he loves you. But your marriage depends on whether you can learn from this. Sophia sobbed louder, her bouquet on the floor. Michael, I said softly, I hope you realize what you lost tonight. Something real and precious. I faced the crowd. I'm leaving now. Enjoy the evening. As I walked toward the exit, Michael called out, Lily, please. I love you. I messed up, but don't end our marriage over this. I turned back, my calm slipping for a moment, showing the pain I'd carried for years. This wasn't one mistake, Michael. It was 3 years of you putting everyone else first, making me feel like I had to earn your love by being less than I am. He stepped closer, his hand reaching for me. Please forgive me. I love you. No, I said firmly. You loved a version of me that didn't challenge you, that made you feel big. You never loved the real me because you never tried to know her. The crowd was silent, watching. I walked on, my steps steady, the guests parting before me. Some nodded respectfully. Others whispered, their phones out, spreading the story. Behind me, Sophia's sobs grew louder. James, I didn't know, she cried. You never would have treated her like that if you knew she was powerful, James said coldly. That tells me everything about who you are. Michael's voice followed me. Lily, wait. We can fix this. But I kept walking. I'd spent too long giving in, staying quiet. An older woman touched my arm gently. That was the bravest thing I've ever seen, she said. You're a true role model. Thank you, I said, her kindness warming me. A young man approached. Miss Harper, I'm with the Business Chronicle. Can I? Not tonight, I said kindly. This is personal. He nodded but was already typing on his phone. As I reached the doors, James caught up, out of breath. Lily, wait. I'm sorry I didn't speak up sooner. I knew who you were, and I let this happen. It wasn't your job to defend me, I said. That was Michael's. He glanced back at the chaos. I need to go deal with this, but our partnership is solid. And my respect for you is too. Thank you, James. But think about what you're going back to. Marriage is hard enough without starting it like this. He nodded, his face heavy. Sophia burst through the doors, her gown trailing, her face streaked with tears. Lily, please. I'm so sorry. I faced her, seeing not the cruel sister-in-law, but a terrified bride facing the wreckage of her dream day. What do you want to say, Sophia? I asked calmly. She stumbled forward, hands clasped. I'm so sorry. I didn't know who you were. Stop, I said sharply. Don't apologize because I'm powerful. Apologize for hurting someone. She froze, speechless. If I was just Michael's ordinary wife, would your actions have been okay? She stammered. No buts, I said. It was wrong, period. James stepped closer. She's right, Sophia. You're sorry because you're scared, not because you understand. Sophia turned to him, desperate. James, you can't mean this about the partnership. It's our future. No, he said. It's your character. And I'm not sure who I married. Michael appeared, looking broken. Lily, please don't go. We can fix this. I looked at him, my heart heavy with sadness. Fix what, Michael? 3 years of you ignoring me, choosing others over me, making me feel small. His hand shook as he reached out. I love you. I didn't know. You didn't know me, I said. You loved a version of me that didn't challenge you. You never asked who I really was. His face fell, the truth sinking in. The valet approached. Your car is ready, ma'am. I nodded and turned to them. Sophia, learn to value people, not power. James, you deserve a partner who shares your heart. Michael, my lawyer will contact you about the divorce. Michael staggered back. Divorce? Lily, no. We can try counseling. Some things can't be fixed, I said softly. Some truths can't be undone. I walked to the valet, but Michael called out, What about our home, our life? I smiled, calm and sad. I built that life, Michael. I paid for our home, our trips, Sophia's debts. It was my success. Now I'm taking it back. His face crumbled as he realized the truth. You'll be fine, I said. You have your job, your family. Live within your means now. I walked out into the cool night, feeling free. The valet opened the door of my sleek black Mercedes, Not the Nissan Michael knew. My phone buzzed with notifications. The story was spreading fast. But I wasn't thinking about that. I was thinking about the woman I'd been hiding my strength, and the woman I was now free to be myself. 3 years later, my life was a new chapter. I moved into a breathtaking penthouse with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, a space that screamed confidence and power. Starlight Media soared, launching campaigns that reshaped industries and won global awards. The divorce was quick. Michael kept the house, but I kept everything else. My lawyer ensured it was airtight. Sophia and James stayed married, but it was a rocky road. Sophia went to therapy, facing her flaws, and James stood by her, determined to rebuild trust. They invited me to coffee one day, and Sophia apologized again, her voice soft. "I was cruel because I was insecure," she said. "I thought putting you down made me bigger." I nodded. "I hope you're finding your own strength now." She smiled, still healing. Michael tried to win me back, sending letters, showing up at my office with gifts, even writing a poem once. "I was a fool," he said, tears in his eyes. "I didn't see you." "I know," I said. "But I see myself now." I never remarried, but I lived vibrantly, traveling to Rome, Sydney, and Morocco, funding community projects, mentoring young entrepreneurs. My phone buzzed with messages from reporters, colleagues, and strangers inspired by that night. James's message from years ago stayed with me. "Your courage showed me what strength really is." The partnership with James Creations flourished, transforming cityscapes and earning accolades. Sometimes, late at night, I stood by my penthouse windows watching the city lights. I thought of that wedding night, walking out with my head high, leaving behind those who diminished me. It wasn't revenge, it was reclaiming my worth. I learned that real love celebrates who you are, not who you pretend to be. And I'd never pretend again.